All right. Well, I can see folks are still trickling in, but we'll go ahead and get started just so we can save lots of time for questions and answers at the end. But thank you all for being here. We're really excited to do this informational webinar on the grant opportunity for our second round of Coordinating SNAP and Nutrition Supports project. If I can go ahead and go to the next slide, we'll do some quick introductions of our presenters today. So we'll start off with Jillian Meyer, who is the director of the No Kid Hungry Partnerships and Campaign Strategy at Share Our Strength, and Matt Lyons, who is senior director of policy and practice at American Public Human Services Association, or APHSA as we'll refer to it. Jess Neely, who is the manager of process innovation at APHSA, and myself, Morgan McKinney. I'm a project associate on the process innovation team at APHSA. Next slide, please. All right, so we'll just go through a quick agenda real quick. We'll start with some background about Share Our Strength and APHSA, and then Jess will give you some context on the first round of CSNS funding and talk to you about some lessons learned and things that happened in that round. And then we'll dive into the details of the grant opportunity. We'll go over things like eligibility, the timeline and budgets, and we'll talk through how project teams will be structured, activities and deliverables that you'll talk about in your applications. We'll discuss the cohort model and then reporting requirements for selected grantees. And then after that, we'll get into proposal guidelines and talk a little bit more about the expectations for awarded grantees and the selection criteria, and more about how you can register for one-on-one consultations to discuss your project before they're due. And then we're hoping to save 20 minutes at the end for questions and answers. And so with that, I'll give it to Jillian to kick us off.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. Share Our Strength and APHSA, we're really thrilled to see so much interest in this project. For those of you that don't know us, No Kid Hungry is working to end childhood hunger by helping launch and improve programs that give all kids the healthy food they need to thrive. This is a problem we know how to solve. Taking a step back, No Kid Hungry is a campaign of Share Our Strength. So that's our parent organization. It's committed to ending hunger and poverty in the US and abroad. No Kid Hungry launched in 2010 to ensure that children and families have access to and can participate in the federal nutrition programs. We spent the formative years of the campaign building relationships with schools and community partners to help them implement and refine programs like Breakfast After the Bell, After School Meals, and Summer Meals programs. What we've come to understand is something that's probably pretty obvious to everyone here, but state and local agencies working in partnership with the community present the biggest and best opportunity to connect families with benefits like SNAP, WIC, TANF, Medicaid, and school meals. Building on the learnings and innovations generated through the first round of the Coordinating SNAP and Nutrition Supports cohort, a second cohort will be funded for 2 years to help SNAP agencies partner with trusted community organizations to reduce hunger, increase economic opportunity, and connect families with benefits. Next slide. Oh, sorry, this is the slide. The goal of the second cohort is sort of fourfold at the highest level. Increase access to SNAP and other benefits by designing and implementing projects that place families and clients at the center of our work. Help SNAP agencies work with trusted community partners to reduce hunger in the community. Implement lessons learned from cohort 1 to scale solutions that reduce hunger and advance racial equity. And lift up promising practices and policy solutions to improve service delivery for better client experience. Next slide. Finally, I really just want to underscore APHSA and Share Our Strength's shared commitment to equity and how that shows up in this project. We are both committed to addressing the systemic and structural inequities that disproportionately impact historically under-resourced communities, focusing on people of color and communities of color in particular. So that is embedded throughout this project, and you'll see it show up in the requirements, you'll see it show up in the reporting, and really our goal is to put the client at the center of what we are all doing and do it in a way that acknowledges there are certain communities that have been historically had more barriers in accessing these programs than other communities. So that's our goal, and that's what we're committed to as part of this process. And now I'll pass it over to Matt.
Great, thanks, Jillian, and hi, everyone. It's fantastic just to see so many both familiar and unfamiliar names in the chat, and just incredibly excited about the opportunity for this initiative and ways that we can be supporting building partnerships between public and community partners to get to the root of some of the structural and systemic barriers to accessing nutrition and connected benefits, and ways that we can do that work better together. I'm Matt Lyons. I'm the Senior Director for Policy and Practice. So I have the pleasure of helping to support our amazing team in administering the first cohort of our collaboration with Share Our Strength, No Kid Hungry, as well as enter into this second cohort that continues to build on the lessons learned from that work. If we go to the next slide, for those of you that may be coming from community-based organizations and are less familiar with APHSA, we are the National Membership Association for state and local human services agencies. So these are the public programs that are administering services ranging from nutrition, programs like SNAP, economic supports, child and family well-being services. And we do that work at multiple levels, working with the cabinet-appointed agency executives that oversee those agencies, working with their subject matter experts that run specific programmatic areas of agency work, as well as working with the operational staff that support the underlying infrastructure for how we deliver our benefits and services, things like technology, legal, procurement, training, things of that nature. And if we go to the next slide, we do all that work in supporting the field, really with a clear North Star for where we are trying to go together to advance the mission of human services. So as we support state and local agencies in their work, we are rooting ourselves in a North Star focused on how do we move our systems upstream, really getting to the core of preventing issues before they happen. How do we advance social and economic mobility and really stressing there, helping families succeed for the long term, and what are the benefits and supportive services that address generational and intergenerational poverty, and how do we get to the root cause of supporting mobility needs. And as we do that work, we're always asking ourselves, how are we building field capacity? How, as we work on the solutions, how are we ensuring that the infrastructure needed to deliver on that work is there to ensure its long-term success? And something that I'm really excited about is how incredibly fantastically this collaboration really does advance and is designed to advance all three of these focus areas, and represents just a terrific way that we can be supporting the field, building their capacity towards customer-centered solutions that get to better integrated connected services and help families to succeed and be well for the long term. Now, if we go to the next slide, we also are asking ourselves, as we do this work at the National Association, how do we advance this work? And we center our work around thinking about different levers that we need to pull. And that's, I'll let the team really talk about the specific design of this particular initiative, but really want to stress that it's reflective and an embodiment of some of the kind of overarching strategies that we ask ourselves and hold ourselves accountable to how we engage. So in the design of this initiative, you'll see a real focus around modern platforms, really thinking about, do public agencies and their community partners have the technology and the tools that are needed to advance kind of transformative work that can break through some of the historical gaps that we've had in our systems? Are we building in space for innovation, really focused around helping to foster and to accelerate the creativity and outside the box thinking on collaborative solutions? Integrated policy levers, thinking about, we can't be talking about this work in silos. We can't succeed as public agencies without our partners at the table. We can't be fixing hunger, if we aren't addressing underlying issues related to poverty, and how are we aligning systems to work together. Applying science and design, really reflective of our commitment to be community-led and co-creating solutions and thinking about process change on the public side that is done in partnership with community and centered around customer experience, lifting up the voices of those from the communities that we want to see through these collaborations. And last, but certainly not least, of course, throughout all of that, partnering for impact. And that means the ability of us to come together is fundamental to our long-term success. And I'll stress too, as we do this work, we recognize the historical and structural inequities that contributed to many of the challenges we're grappling with today. And as we look at these different issues, we're constantly asking ourselves, how do we consider them through a race equity lens? And that continues to carry forward into the design of this collaboration as well. Next slide. So some of our bread and butter as a national association is really about creating spaces for incredible thought leaders like those of you that are on this webinar today to connect and learn and innovate with each other, and really be a supportive platform to move those ideas forward together. Our affinity groups are part of our structure that are a fundamental way that we support that work, and we create peer spaces within our organization focused on communities around SNAP administration, TANF, childcare, child welfare, but also at the same time bringing together innovators within the operational pieces of our work, IT, legal, organizational development. And those engines are really at our core of how we stay accountable to and responsive to the needs of state and local agencies and think about some of the strategies that we can advance. But if we go to the next page, we're continuing to build off of those to go deeper in areas of impact that we want to facilitate and support, and increasingly launching new communities of practice that are reflective of emerging needs and priorities in the field, focus around equity, diversity, and inclusion, and those leaders within public agencies, folks that are investing in data and evidence, communication, process innovation, all that comes together in different spaces that we create. And I say all this to emphasize that a core component of this work, and in an area that we see tremendous value in how we take individual proof points and exciting ideas and turn that into a movement, is through a cohort structure where we bring like-minded folks together to, in a collaborative environment, learn from each other, engage, feed off of each other's ideas and thoughts to move their parallel initiatives together and to take those insights to drive and inoculate further change in the field among the broader network of public administration. And this, again, this cohort, and this is collaborative that we're looking to invest in state and local agencies and their partners, reflective of that same mentality and concept, and frankly, really exciting about our ability and opportunity to really bring community partners into those conversations authentically, and hearing from you and how we can co-create and get collaborative in our work together. So I'm very excited about this work. I'm going to turn it back to the team who's going to take you through some of the details.
Thanks, Matt. I'm taking over. Hi, everyone. I'm Jess Manili, Manager for Process Innovation at APHSA. And I will share a bit about the first cohort of CSNS initiatives, Coordinating SNAP and Nutrition Supports Initiatives, from the initiative that's currently being funded. In our webinar registrations, we got a lot of questions and requests for information about the first cohort. So I'll share some information on that briefly with you today, and we can follow up with additional readings. If you've reviewed any information on this opportunity ahead of today, you've noticed that this is the second cohort. The first cohort funded under this grant opportunity launched in spring of 2021. And 6 SNAP agencies were awarded grants in the first cohort, including Hawaii, Kansas, Michigan, New Jersey, and New Mexico state SNAP agencies, as well as the Mecklenburg County SNAP agency in North Carolina. And these SNAP agencies led projects and collaborated with their peers in other program areas, such as the Special Supplemental Nutrition Program for Women, Infants, and Children, or WIC, and also community partners to support streamlined access to and co-enrollment between SNAP and connected supports like WIC, like Medicaid, National School Lunch Program, and more. And on the whole, the funded projects in Cohort 1 aimed to eliminate cross-departmental silos. I'm looking at this list on the right side of this slide here. They facilitated community engagement, enhanced outreach and service delivery across programs, analyzed administrative and demographic data to reduce disparities in access, and overall worked to improve the customer experience. So for the sake of time today, I'll sort of breeze through the high-level descriptions of the first 6 projects before I turn it to Morgan, who will dig into more details of this current RFP. Hopefully these can serve as some inspiration for you all as you're considering the next funding opportunity. So starting on the left with our SNAP and WIC connected projects, Hawaii has worked to build a real data-driven foundation and develop a practice of interagency coordination, primarily between SNAP and WIC agencies in the state. Kansas is working to increase co-enrollment between SNAP and WIC through data sharing, analytics, outreach, and community engagement. So through their project, they built what's called a data lake that aggregates SNAP and WIC case data that is being used currently to target outreach and also enable evaluation. And that's complemented by a very targeted effort in one of their counties that encompasses a military base where they've hired an individual with lived expertise to support some specific needs for this more transient population that faces some specific barriers to access in that county. New Jersey is working to increase SNAP and WIC co-enrollment as well through data sharing and outreach. Specifically, they built an API that enables WIC staff to confirm SNAP participation and thereby streamline WIC enrollment for those families. And then finally, on the SNAP and WIC connection side, we have New Mexico, and their state is maximizing WIC participation among SNAP families through an automated referral engine that they built to automatically connect SNAP applicants to WIC, and it's already resulted in thousands of new WIC certifications, which is very exciting. And then on the right side of the screen, we have 2 projects funded under Cohort 1 that are focused at a higher level on client experience and analytics. So Michigan is working to systematically identify and eliminate gaps in access to nutrition supports across the state. Among their priority populations, they built a food security map that's enabling this, and they're also building a closed loop referral system in partnership with a wide network of community supports, including food banks across the state. And then finally, we have Mecklenburg County, who has developed community partnerships and leveraged data to increase access to nutrition supports, including SNAP and WIC, and school lunch and some other programs that are specific to the county. Through the grant, they launched a food security navigator model through which they hired a team of individuals with lived expertise to engage the wider community and benefits access initiatives. So their model has been really successful in the county. It also spurred interest in launching similar approaches in other states, and they even won an award for their efforts already. So we're super proud of the first 6 sites. Some of the projects are already complete or will be wrapping in the next couple weeks, while others are still ongoing. On the whole, the full Cohort 1 will be wrapped by March of 2023. And I'm going to leave it there for Cohort 1 site descriptions, but if you're interested in learning more, please don't hesitate to contact me directly, and I'm happy to share more information or connect you to the implementers at those sites. And before I pass it to Morgan, I'll just say that through the second round of this grant funding, APHSA and Share Our Strength are really looking to embrace this opportunity to draw on the lessons we've learned through Cohort 1, our experiences and the relationships we've built, to assist the awardees of the second cohort throughout their planning and implementation and evaluation. And specifically, I'll just flag that Cohort 1 sites demonstrated a real need for a sharpened focus on supporting community-driven government to advance equity priorities. So launching Cohort 2, we've honed that community focus by requiring a partnership between SNAP agencies and a community-based organization for proposed initiatives. And I'll turn it over now to Morgan, who will tell you a lot more details about the RFP.
Awesome. Thank you, Jess. So we can go ahead and go on to the next slide. We'll dig a little bit more into the opportunity associated with the grant. So just a quick timeline, we have the webinar today, and then throughout the rest of October and November, we'll do one-on-one project consultations, which we'll talk a little bit more about later in the presentation. December 30th are when proposals are formally due. And then right after that in January, we'll have a review period where we evaluate the proposals. And then from January to February of 2023, we'll follow up with finalists and hopefully announce awards in February of 2023. And then following that will be year one funding disbursement. March 1st, we'll kick off the program or project launch and the planning phase. And then a year after that, which will be the midway point, that's when midpoint reports will be due and when year two funding will be dispersed. And then another year after that, as it's a 2-year grant, March 30th of 2025 will be the formal end of the grant period. So you can go to the next slide, please. So to be eligible for the CSNS grant, we're looking for joint applications between a state or local SNAP agency and a community partner. And we're defining community partners really broadly to refer to any organization that directly serves community and family needs. And we really want to strongly encourage organizations that work directly with individuals experiencing hunger to apply. We also wanted to emphasize that any SNAP agency is eligible to apply, including those operating in US territories. And while the SNAP agency and community partner relationship is required, other applicants are encouraged to engage additional partners and connected agencies such as WIC or school meals or Medicaid. And we really hope that those relationships will build and strengthen cross-agency partnership, break down siloed work, and build relationships and collaborations that will last well beyond the grant period. We can go ahead and go to the next slide, please. And again, the overarching goal of the grant is to invest in state systems to blend customer-centered business process changes and SNAP delivery and connected public benefits. And so we're aiming to deepen the capacity of agencies to advance community-led work. And so this round of CSNS funding will invest in projects that reinforce existing agency priorities that increase access to nutrition supports by embedding these community-engaged strategies and human-centered design into their work. We're also looking to fund projects that result in clear and tangible process changes that center community voice in things like the redesign of outreach strategy, application, certification, or ongoing participation processes. And then proposed projects should aim to strengthen agency impact and address structural inequities by removing barriers to participation or improving client experience. And so with that, of the applications for proposals will be awarded grants up to $750,000 with opportunities for funding enhancement at the end of the first year, ranging from $50,000 to $200,000 based on the project needs. Next slide, please. So getting into the budgets again, $750,000 for a 2-year project. Applicants will be required to outline their budgets and how those will be spent in their applications. And again, there will be another opportunity in the planning phase for selected grantees to refine their budgets, make a couple of small adjustments, those sorts of things as needed. And really, we want the funding to be flexible to accommodate project needs. So funding can be used for lots of things, including staffing and project management, technology enhancements, contracts with community partners, partner convenings, and so much more. It is designed to be flexible. We also wanted to note that in the budget proposals that cohort convenings and travel will be covered separately by Share Our Strength. And we'll talk a little bit more of those convenings later, but there's no need to include those that are organized by APHSA and Share Our Strength in your budget proposals. You'll also be asked to submit a budget narrative summarizing and providing justification for your total project costs, and asked to describe your agency or organization's ability to hire or onboard staff if funding will be partially used to hire for a new position. Next slide, please. So project teams. So we're really excited to support creative teaming structures that promote collaboration across agencies and within the different communities that you're working with. And so funding can be used to support new roles that might be specifically designed to build and engage those relationships. And with that, we're asking applicants to describe the structure of their project team, describe how that proposed arrangement supports cross-program alignment or smoother service delivery, improved customer experience, and program sustainability. And then we're also looking for demonstrated organizational commitment from senior leadership within both the SNAP agency and partner agencies. And proposals should establish a core team that includes lead representatives from both of those groups, as well as other representatives from connected agencies that might get pulled into the project. Within the first cohort that Jess kind of outlined for us, we found that there were several positions that were really key to success, including project sponsors, so leadership level representatives. They're kind of championing the effort from the SNAP agency or the community partner, project managers responsible for project timelines, deliverables, stakeholder coordination, and a project point of contact that will work directly with coordinating with us at APHSA throughout the project period. Next slide, please. You'll also be asked in your application to describe the major activities of the proposed project, and strong proposals will go further to define the planned work products and deliverables, including a description of how they contribute to the overall project goals. And so some of those work products can include things like work plans or data sharing agreements, evaluation reports, white papers, digital products, or more client-facing materials like surveys, outreach materials, and technology builds. And some examples of project activities from the first cohort, I won't read them all, but some of them are data analyses, outreach planning and implementation, customer engagement activities, and evaluation activities. We can go on to the next one, please. And so selected grantees will also be required and benefit from participating in cohort learning. Again, this was really successful and something that everyone from the first cohort pointed to as a really key strength of the first round of funding, because they were able to bounce ideas off of each other, brainstorm solutions, share their successes, and collectively troubleshoot. So there were a lot of lessons learned that were applicable across different states and areas. In addition to those meetings that will be convened by APHSA for the full cohort of grantees, APHSA and Share Our Strength will also check in with projects sites one-on-one on a regular cadence. And that's where we'll be able to offer technical assistance on individual projects, facilitate access to experts in the field across SNAP, child nutrition, tech, and research, and also just be able to offer general project support as progress is being made. And then the convening sites will be funded to participate in in-person events. And so these are the ones that will be funded separately by Share Our Strength that don't need to be included in your budget proposals. So there will be a cohort planning meeting in May of 2023 and a summit in August of 2024. And we just want to note that those dates are tentative. That's what we're aiming for. They might change, but we'll keep you updated as the process goes along. And then throughout the entire grant period, there will be several opportunities to highlight the work that the selected grantees are doing at different conferences and webinars. All right, next slide, please. All right, and then awarded sites will be required to do some grant reporting. So that will include 6 quarterly reports, a midpoint report, and a final report. And so as you can see on this little table, the first quarterly reports are due in June, September, and December of 2023. And then midpoint reports are going to be in March of 2024. And that is the same time that funding enhancements will be evaluated. So that's that funding enhancement from $50,000 to $200,000 based on project needs. That will be decided and worked through then. And then quickly after that, year 2 funding will be dispersed. And then the next quarterly reports, June, September, December of 2024. And then a final report after the formal close of the grant period in April of 2025. And I think with that, I'm going to pass it back to Jess to go through some of the more details about selection criteria.
Great. Thanks, Morgan. So I will just quickly run through some of our proposal guidelines and expectations as you are working on potential ideas for submission. So we, again, are looking for proposals to be co-developed by the state or local SNAP agency and the primary community partner in the initiative. We have provided a template for proposal development and submission. I believe Chloe dropped that in the chat for folks. We ask that the RFPs or proposals be submitted via email on or before December 30th of this year to myself and Miranda Lozon from Share Our Strength. We'll have our emails up at the end of this webinar, and they're also included in the RFP itself. And then I'll also note that partners that are named in your project proposals are required to sign off on the grant application itself. And then in addition to the direct sign off of any core partners, that's your SNAP agency and your community partner that are co-developing the proposal. So in addition to that direct sign off, we ask that applicants be prepared to submit letters of commitment if there are non-core agencies or organizations that you're looking to get support for the success and sustainability of the project that you're seeking funding for. And then some notes on our review process and some tentative or anticipated selection criteria. We at APHSA are currently working to hire and onboard a group of individuals who have lived expertise to take part in the review process for this opportunity and also to remain engaged with us throughout the grant period. So in our review and selection process for the opportunity, we're really looking to challenge ourselves to practice that power sharing that we're encouraging for applicants by leaning on this group for their expertise in navigating benefits access, so that we do select high impact initiatives for awards. So we're still in the development process of this initiative, and we intend to involve this group heavily in the review and awarding of grants. At this point, though, wanted to share some high-level selection criteria that we anticipate guiding our reviews. So starting from the top, I'll just read through. Impact of proposed project to support communities that disproportionately face hunger, demonstrated ability to execute work plans, sustained impact of the project beyond the grant, capacity of the state agency to hire, onboard, support, and embed new staffing resources, as Morgan spoke to earlier, ability to accept grant funds, interest in actively participating in cohort learning. So I'll just re-highlight what Matt said earlier in the webinar, that we've really saw a lot of value in the cohort aspect of this opportunity in cohort 1. And so we're looking to continue that in cohort 2. And then continuing on here, demonstrated strength of relationship between the SNAP agency and the community partner or another involved entity. This isn't to say that you shouldn't explore new partnerships at all. We do encourage that, but we're looking for you to demonstrate in proposals that it will be a strong and collaborative relationship. And then finally, we are looking for community partners that work directly with individuals that are experiencing hunger, as we've shared earlier in this webinar. And before we go to questions, I'll just share this is the proposal checklist. I won't run through this one for you, but it's in the RFP itself. It's on the second page, and it's intended for you to use as you are developing your proposals. And before you submit, just an easy reference guide to make sure you have all of the necessary components. And before I open it up for questions, I'll just say that we are here to help and to discuss your projects and ideas. So we would love to talk to you one-on-one. Chloe's going to drop a link in the chat to schedule or request a consultation with us, and we would love to talk to you. So please, if you are considering this opportunity, or if you have some ideas that you're already thinking might be a good fit for this funding, fill out that form and we'll reach out to you to schedule a one-on-one meeting to talk more about your ideas. Okay, so that is all of the content we have for you today, and I'm happy to open it up now for questions and answers. And actually, I already see a few coming through. My first question, and I'm going to read these out. Morgan, do you mind fielding them? I'm going to answer this one live. So can the community partner be one that works on a statewide level, or do they need to be more local than that? Morgan, I thought you were going to take that, but I can take it easily. Yes, a statewide level partner is perfect. There is no need for it to be more local. We'll consider all community partners. Okay, the next one here is, and I'm going to take this one too, just because I've been so involved in the first cohort. What does cohort program or closure look like? I believe I saw that there was evaluation up until 2025 on the RFP, but was wondering if there will be cohort activities post 2025. So I'm going to answer this one live as well. We are involved in the closure and sustainability planning of cohort 1. We've been touching base with everyone who's participated in cohort 1 frequently as they're wrapping down their projects. We don't currently have plans beyond the close of 2025, but that is something that we'll just work very closely with the awarded grantees to develop. And I'll also say in the RFP, if you read through it, we understand that timelines may need to change, and we're very flexible on that front. So I think I'll leave it there for now without over explaining our flexibility, but we just understand that 2025 feels like a long way out right now, and we'll be there to help you plan the sustainability of your initiatives if that is needed from us.
Jess, I'm also seeing a question in the chat that asks, can proposals focus on narrow groups experiencing additional barriers to accessing food benefits? For example, families with mixed citizenship status.
Yes, they can, and that would be highly encouraged. Actually, I'll take a minute just to note that in the proposals, we are looking for applicants to name the groups that you are hoping to impact through your process changes. So if your process change that you are seeking funding to support is specifically around a non-citizen group, then we would look for you to have a community partner that has some expertise in that area, and or to bring in individuals who have lived expertise with that that access point to public benefits, so that that's highly informed in your project development from both proposal all the way through to evaluation.
All right, the next one says we're a technology vendor or partner and work with agencies and community-based organizations to administer programs end-to-end from application to payment. Are we able to work with grantees on implementation? Is there a preferred vendor list?
There's no preferred vendor list. And yes, you will be able to work with grantees on implementation, especially if that's already a vendor relationship that you have established. We expect that the SNAP agency or the community partner would bring their vendors into this process.
And then another one from the chat says, does the community partner need to be an NGO?
Nope. Can be any type of community partner, community-based organization.
Can grant expenses go to third-party consultants to support the overall design and implementation process, with the understanding that the project ultimately needs to be sustainable with agency capacity and growth?
Sorry, just taking a minute to take that question in. I am going to say yes. I don't think we've huddled up as a team much around this question yet, but I don't anticipate that this should be any kind of issue. If there's a third-party consultant who, for example, has expertise in implementing human-centered design language, then that would make sense to bring in as a consultant for your initiative if that was like a focus area for your grant. But if you have something more specific that you're thinking about in that question, please reach out to us and we're happy to like dive a little bit deeper.
Another question is,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead, Jess.
I just wanted to flag that we are collecting these questions as well as the questions that were submitted with webinar registration. And we're gonna circulate them after the webinar with with the questions and answers in an FAQ document as well. So if there's anything that we can't get to today, or if we need to huddle up and figure out a response, we'll include that in the follow-up document.
All right, the next question is, do we have any recommendations for how a community partner might start this conversation with their state organization?
That's a great question. Jillian, do you mind if I pass that to you?
Absolutely. And I think that's where we can be really helpful in the consultation process. I think that might be a good tool for determining what type of technical assistance or communications or processes would be most useful to you as the community partner. And that's definitely a role we can play from our lens. So happy to have that conversation, and just want to emphasize, Jess has mentioned a few times the flexibility. And I think that's a great question to really hone in on. We are building this in partnership with you all, and we built the Cohort 1 in partnership with Cohort 1. And, we really see our job as funders, as technical assistance providers, as project managers to work with you to the best possible outcome and impact for clients. And that might look different for each site and for each project. And so our goal is to set you up for success. And if figuring out how to connect you with your state agency, giving you best practices is what's needed, we will absolutely take the time to do that. And then conversely, if you are having questions about the vendor side of things, that's where a consultation with APHSA would be really helpful. So this is really sort of a more questions the merrier situation, and there really is no wrong question or no wrong idea. And we do want to be partners on the thought partnership side of this. And so please feel free to engage us, even if it's not as needed, it's just as wanted and desired. This is where the fun part happens, when we can ideate and create together. So these questions are wonderful, and definitely let us know how we can be helpful.
All right, thank you, Jillian. Another question is, will projects that focus on childhood hunger be prioritized?
I can take that one. I think obviously from the Share Our Strength, No Kid Hungry side, we are looking to end childhood hunger. I think the realization that children do not happen in a vacuum is one that we keep in the back of our mind. And so I think strengthening the family unit, strengthening systems that benefit communities as a whole is a really important lens for us to keep in mind. And so that could be as easy as discussing sort of the through line between your project not explicitly calling out childhood hunger, but us discussing how it eventually comes down in the community in a way that does benefit and lift everyone up. So all that to say, we will be flexible. I mean, if you come up with an idea to game change the world of childhood hunger through system change and process innovation, we would love to have that conversation. But we know that the best way to change impact and enhance impact isn't always a laser-like focus on childhood hunger.
Another question that was just asked in the Q&A is, with only 4 grants being issued, it seems like a state level proposal would be preferred over a county level. Is that an accurate read on the situation?
I can take that, or Matt, do you want to speak to it?
Sure, I can speak to it and add any additional thoughts, Jess. I would say that is not the case. I think we are looking at impact in a number of different ways in terms of number of people impacted, the need that we're impacting, the sustainability of the changes that are happening, the ability to demonstrate community-led work in the design of it. That can happen at the state level or at the county level. So I think we are, and I can note in our experiences in our first cohort, we really did find some great synergies in blending some county voices and state voices together, and found that as we came together with some very different ideas and initiatives, there was a lot of cross-site learning that stemmed out of a kind of diverse set of different types of projects and different types of organizations that were involved. So by no stretch of the imagination are we focused on one particular type of state versus county agency in the applications that are received.
Yeah, I'll just add to that having Mecklenburg County be a part of Cohort 1 was awesome. And the fact that we had state and county representation in that cohort, I think really did strengthen our understanding and ability to lift up lessons learned across levels of government. So just doubling down on what Matt answered there.
All right. Our next question is, what type of program deliverables are you hoping for by project closure? Are you expecting reports about particular common barriers to entry that were found in a data processing initiative? Are you expecting tangible benefits implemented to current nutritional beneficiary experience? All or none of the above, etc.
I'll start. And if others on the team want to also build, you're all welcome to. What we're looking for is a process change or innovation that is implemented in concert with the SNAP agency and the community partner to really achieve a tangible impact. And we're not being prescriptive in what those deliverables or outcomes look like, but we are rather looking to you all in your proposal development to outline what you think the right deliverables and outputs of such an initiative would be. So I can share from the first cohort, some of their deliverables include program evaluations, results from community surveys, and plans to strategically utilize those to improve benefits access at the county or state level. In the instance of Hawaii, they're developing a white paper to outline how their SNAP and WIC agencies will continue to collaborate in an ongoing manner outside of the grant. Obviously, in our Kansas project that I spoke a little bit about earlier, one of their deliverables is just that technology system, that building of the data lake. So there really is just like a really wide array of potential deliverables and outputs from the projects funded here. And the through line is that they're connecting SNAP with other nutrition supports, and they're improving processes through a person and customer-centered lens. And throughout that process, the community is at the table developing that solution alongside the agency.
Yes, I'm just going to add, I'll certainly want to reemphasize kind of the focus around, like, is there tangible change that is happening in kind of redesign of systems that support or communities, and is the community at the table in that work? I do want to stress that we want to understand, and we recognize the significant undertaking of that work, and genuinely want to understand from applicants some of that foundational work that might be necessary at in the early phases of a partnership that is needed ahead of implementation. And that is in part reflective of a structured planning phase of this initiative, followed by an implementation phase that we've built into our process in working with funded sites, and that we really want to understand from you all too what that's going to take. So to the question, I think that we want to hear both with an ultimate kind of shared vision of moving towards tangible change within nutrition and connected systems that public agencies administer and can do so in partnership with community.
Yeah, and maybe just one thing to quickly add is that a lot of our focus on process changes are for sustainability purposes. We're trying to see more systemic change within the way that we deliver nutrition supports and things that will last beyond a 2-year grant period. So when you're thinking about deliverables, some of those things might be, one-time things, but the overall project should be pushing along a larger, more systemic change that will last beyond the 2 years. All right, I'm not seeing any more questions in the chat or the Q&A. Feel free to populate it if you have any others.
We'll give it a minute in case. Oh, go ahead, Jillian.
I was just going to say, we are truly looking forward to what you come up with, whether you're joining as a state or local agency, whether you're joining from the community partnership or vendor side. You all know these programs better than us at the national level. You know how it functions in your state, in your locality. And so we really are looking to you as the experts in how the programs show up for the people you serve. And so really excited by these questions because they're just frankly thought-provoking for us as you're seeing play out in real time. And just want to underscore, we don't have preconceived notions in what the perfect proposal would look like. I think you've heard sort of the outcomes we're looking for in terms of, like Morgan's point about sustainability and systems change was a fantastic response. We're looking to improve the lives of our clients and our customers and do it in a way that is sustainable beyond Share Our Strengths and APHSA's involvement. And so I hope you take that as a little bit of sort of empowerment to come to the table with interesting, innovative, offbeat, frankly, sometimes super unsexy, wonky ideas are the game changers we're looking for as well. And so really look to you to bring those ideas to the table. So just want to underscore that.
Awesome. And we do have time. So if folks have additional questions, please continue to add them. And as you're thinking through any questions you might have, we'll give you a minute, but I wanted to read one of them out loud that we answered just by the chat. One person asked if you had to be a part of the first cohort to apply for this round. And I'll just say out loud, no, you do not. You are eligible to apply for the second round if you are a part of the first cohort, but you do not need to have participated in the first cohort to be eligible. And then I will just say a quick thank you and allow the other panelists to say their thank yous as well while you're thinking about any final questions for us. So really appreciate folks joining today. It's awesome to see this level of interest in this opportunity, and we are just really excited to see what people are thinking about. So, reach out to us for one-on-one consultations. My inbox is always open, same with Morgan's, and Miranda from Share Our Strength. Her email is also on this. We have recorded and we'll send out the recordings after the webinar, along with that FAQ document I mentioned earlier. We're also going to send out the slides, so don't worry about that. And yeah, any final words from the rest of the panelists today?
Jess, I did see another question pop into the chat. If we want to answer that quickly before we formally sign off. They asked, can a university extension office with agents working directly in communities serve as a community partner? And I think the answer is yes. Jess, I don't know if you want to add more to that answer.
Yeah, I just had to read it a second time, but I agree. I think the answer is yes. And again, if you're having trouble deciding whether you fit that description of what a community partner is, let us know. Jillian and the Share Our Strength team would be happy to work through that with you. We don't mean to be vague at all. We want to encourage community partnerships at like a wide range of community partnerships. If you're a community partner at the college level, especially if you're working on an initiative that's focused on young people or college student access to SNAP, for example, that would make a ton of sense. So we are here to support your proposal development and help you determine whether you're eligible to apply.
Yeah. Okay, great. Well, I don't see any more questions, but I do want to take a chance real quick to let folks know that after you sign off, there will be just a quick survey. And if any other questions come up after the fact, you can submit those to the survey. We would love for you to fill that out just so we can get a sense of who's here, any other questions that are lingering that we can answer and things like that. So thank you all so much for being here. We're really excited to see the projects you all propose. And yeah, Jillian, do you want to say anything else? Jillian and Matt?
I was going to just say thank you, but I just saw another question come in the chat. You mentioned foundational work identified in the planning phase would be taken into account. What does that mean? Will there be additional funding for that work, or will that be answered in a consultation? Jess, do you want to take that one?
Sorry,
I think those were my words, so I'm happy to jump in and clarify unless you want to take it, Jazz.
Thank you.
In terms of, I think one, what does that mean? I think certainly recognizing and wanting to understand from the partnership applicant team if ahead of moving forward to implement a specific process change, there was work that needed to be done around relationship development, community engagement, around barrier analysis, stakeholder outreach awareness, or development of structures that are needed to move this work forward successfully. We would encourage folks to give thought and build that into the design of your proposal and include that in your budget. In terms of the question of whether there would be additional funding for that work, so we have, and as I think Jess and Morgan shared earlier on, we have developed into our timeline of funding so that as agencies move past the planning phase of their projects, there will be a point to identify if there were gaps in their initial design or new opportunities that have emerged in your planning that you could have further impact through an additional funding enhancement. There will be an opportunity for selected grantees to submit those requests once they've already received funding for a supplemental amount. So there is some design baked in to recognize the agility of the process need to reflect the fact that the real world is subject to change, and we want to understand that, and that we don't always get it all right up front. We're all available to talk through that further in a one-on-one consultation, so I would encourage folks to reach out if they really want to tease that out further with the Share Our Strength and APHSA teams.
I don't think I've ever been on a webinar with this many questions, so just want to express our appreciation for not just joining, but how engaged you have all been throughout this webinar. You're probably some of the busiest people that we all know and work with, and we're just really grateful for your interest and your time today. And we look forward to hearing from you, frankly.
All right, everyone, thank you so much for joining, and keep an eye out on your inboxes. We will be in touch soon. Thanks again. Bye.